Among other people that were involved in Kiyingi's operation were Manthan Mehta, a regional marketing manager, HCG. He had this to say.
I'm the coordinator for HCG hospitals, that is Healthcare Global. We have about 30 branches in India.
How did you meet Fred?
First time I received a call from a doctor about September 2013, and who told me that there's a gentleman who needs some treatment in terms of liver disease. When I contacted Fred, he was in a very bad condition and yet looking out for the help, whatever he can get in terms of getting the specialist, getting the right treatment center, and which can cure and treat him to what he is as of today.
Okay. And how exactly did you help him coordinate, like from hospitals here and the hospitals in India?
After September 2013, he was again disappeared. But when he came back to us, it was around January 2014, when he called me and he told me that still he is not well and he is looking out for a second opinion and adoption to fix his liver and the disease what he has got. So then I met him in his office along with his country director, and we decided a plan how to go about it and how to go forward. So I took all his medical reports and I coordinated with the specialists back at HCG hospital and told them that what he is suffering from and what he has undergone. After reviewing the reports, the specialists from the HCG hospital back in India, they came back to me saying that this is the probable plan of treatment, this is the duration of stay, what he will have to stay back in India, and this is the tentative cost.
How did the hospital in India manage to accept to take him and work on him when he hadn't fully paid the money? How does it work? Because
of his situation, the doctors over there and the management from HCG hospitals decided that the kind of critical situation it is, it's not good to ask him to get all the money first and then plan the treatment. So it was better to do the treatment first, the surgery first. Transplant was done, and we believed in him, and we thought that when he goes back, he will raise the funds and will pay back the balance, whatever he has for the hospital. How can you be found? If anyone wants to contact you, where can you be found? A very simple way to reach out to me is my phone number. It's 0755 466 878. They can just give me a call and then we can fix up the time and the appointment, and then I can direct them to my offices.
Dr. David Ndaula has been with Frederick through thick and thin. He tells us his side of the story.
I met Mr. Kiyingi in 2005, and at the time he was complaining about yellowness of his eyes. This yellowness had been persistent, it had been going on. He was feeling tired, he was generally unwell, and the moment as a doctor you see yellowness, it usually refers you to the liver system. And so we did a number of tests on his liver, and eventually after a number of tests we were able to have an idea of what was wrong with him in 2005. What we found is, I'm sure we all know that our liver's main job is it removes poisons from our body. That's what it does. It cleans up medicines, it cleans up potentially harmful things in our body. Our liver's main jobs are also, it helps with digestion. Bile is a substance that is produced in the liver that helps us digest fat. The other thing that the liver does is that it helps in the production of certain important clotting factors, things that help us clot our blood. It also helps in the storage of certain vitamins, vitamins A, D, E, and K. And so when someone's liver is unwell, you start to see these functions suffer. But it was interesting that we found that Mr. Kiyingi had what looked like something he was born with. He had a congenital abnormality of his liver. And this congenital abnormality at the time, if I recall, was a choledochal cyst. And basically it is an outgrowth on the biliary system, which was affecting the way bile was flowing, leading to blood flow, and also causing the yellowness in his eyes.
Okay. And he talked about the gallbladder, which was operated upon. What, as a doctor, what caused that? Is it part of the abnormality you're talking about?
Yes. What they tried to remove at the initial surgery was this abnormality. And it was an operation that was due to correct this. And it was done by a team of eminent surgeons. And what happened is you're supposed to take out this growth, and depending on what you see, because there are so many possible variants of this choledochal cyst, but basically the operation was going to end up with the gallbladder as well being removed, and an alternative passage for the bile being made. Yes.
Okay. I'm sure he needs some advice now, what he's going through right now. What are the do's and don'ts?
Well, he's probably had quite a bit, but when you have a transplant, one of the big fears that you have is that because this liver came from someone else, one of the fears is that your body can reject it.
Yes.
Okay. And so he's going to be on medication, probably for life, to help prevent this happening, so that this liver will stay in his body, it will function as a normal liver, and it will give him the function that he wouldn't otherwise have with the liver that was damaged.
Yes.
So the general advice is for him to keep eating healthy. Generally, if you're eating healthy, you have protective things in your food that protect your liver. One needs to always be careful about alcohol. Alcohol is one of those things that's broken in your liver. Too much of it will cause even the replaced liver to be damaged. He'll need to be careful about acquiring illnesses that could potentially harm the liver. I'm sure we've heard of hepatitis.
Yes.
Hepatitis, different diseases that also can damage the liver. So we need to be careful about that. He is going to need to be followed up. He's going to have periodic checkups. But I've seen him about 3 times since he came back. And Mr. Kiyingi is a changed man.
He's doing great.
He's doing very, very well.
Oh, that's good.
Yes.
And how bad is the liver problem in Uganda?
Well, I can't give you figures, but if we look at the common things, by the time you need a transplant, you have damaged your liver significantly. The commonest things that tend to damage your liver are the infections we spoke about. Hepatitis, commonly hepatitis B, hepatitis C. Now, I believe that the distribution of hepatitis B in this country is slowly coming to light. Every so often, the AIDS control program carry out surveys in different communities. And if I remember well, that the prevalence, which is the number of people who have hepatitis B, I can't give the exact, but I seem to remember between 10 and 20% of people. It is higher in certain parts of this country. Northern Uganda generally has higher figures for hepatitis B compared to other countries, to other parts of the country. We don't have figures for hepatitis C, which is another virus that causes liver damage. And so if you think about hepatitis B for a moment, hepatitis B is 100 times more infectious than HIV. So in one sexual incident, if you miss HIV, you're going to get hepatitis. If you think about it, it also moves exactly the same way HIV does. So that if we have an HIV problem in this country, it only follows that there is most likely a hepatitis problem as well in this country. And if you work with that, you will know that our risks of hepatitis are probably high. The good news about hepatitis is that nowadays we're immunizing against it, and so you can be protected from hepatitis B, not C. And but the risks are high. It's a condition where 95% of people will live without any problem, and so they could live with it. It's slowly causing damage. They're passing it on to other people. And so we are sitting on something that we may not really understand the magnitude of. The other things that cause liver damage is alcohol. Once in a while you tend to hear Uganda has some of the highest rates of drinking. Then you hear how much tax revenue we get from alcohol. It tells you that there's a huge market out there. Now these are the people who are drinking beers that we can measure, but how many people are taking local brews? Okay, all that is going through the liver. So we may have people who are sitting on liver problems that they are not aware of. Now, Fred may have mentioned that he does have an outstanding balance on his bills at the hospital. From what I recall, the whole procedure cost about $40,000 US. There is an outstanding amount, and I would like to encourage all those well-wishers and all those people who would like to help Fred. For many of us, his story touched us, his courage. What he has had to go through to get to where he has, it's a real story of courage. And for those of us who'd like to help, I'll encourage you, please be generous. Please help Fred, help his family, and help him get to full health once again. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What story would it be if we didn't get a word from the Indian doctor that saved Frederick's life?
Frederick had a diagnosis of recurrent cholangitis in a setting of secondary biliary cirrhosis. He would not have done well without liver transplantation. Liver transplant surgery is a complex procedure. It requires both donor and recipient surgery going on simultaneously. And in case of Mr. Frederick, it really went on very smoothly without any blood transfusion. Although it was a complex surgery, because we are well versed in it, we could attain the complex surgery with a very good outcome. And both of them started walking on day one. They were released from the hospital before the scheduled date, and they did fantastic. This liver transplant is very special to us because it's the first Ugandan patient that we have performed with such a good outcome, and the results are fantastic after liver transplantation. And I want to say that we have a 100% success rate with liver transplantation. Thank you very much.
With all said and done, Frederick still needs to clear his outstanding bail. We hope that, as always, you will extend a hand to Frederick to even live longer. We appreciate all of you that do the much you do in saving and rescuing our helpless guests on the show. We can't thank you enough. May the Lord reward you according to the riches of His glory. That's all we had for you today, and you've heard if there's anything you can provide to Fred, any money, even if it's 10,000 shillings, even if it's 5,000 shillings, it can make a difference in his life. Please don't forget to like our Facebook page, NTV Life Stories. Until next time, stay blessed.
Love him. And, he's my hero. He decided to give me his product. You know, I everybody was running out.
she's my wife, such a wonderful lady. For 10 years, she has not run away. She has not run away from me. But